Jai Shri Ram. Welcome. Welcome to the epic reading of the Ramayana. It is a blessing to be here if you are here. If you are watching on another timeline, it's still a blessing. Doesn't matter which point in space and time, which point of perspective you are at. If the story is meant to find you, it will. So thank you. Thank you for being here. We are on the fifth reading of the Ramayana. It is the story of Lord Ram. It is a beautiful story, a story that is repeated over the centuries with a lot of practical applications in this Yuga, or the Kali Yuga, as it is known. My name is Srishti Chand Noel. I'm Indian by birth. I'm an author, healer, a visual storyteller, and a devotee of Lord Shiva. And this story is about his friend, Lord Krishna, the avatar of Lord Vishnu. So, many blessings to you, dear Nikshay. Welcome to the epic tale of the Ramayana. For those of us who are joining now, I will explain a little bit of the structure of how I will run this reading. I'll keep it quite simple. We will honor the sacred fire, one of the main sacred elements in the ancient ways. Doesn't matter if it's Indian, Native American, or any other. So we will begin by honoring all that are part of the sacred circle. And then we will continue with our reading in session 5. And that will be for about 30 minutes. And we will close the space and send everyone who's attended in this dimension, in other dimensions, we'll send them back safely. The story brings blessings to all who hear it. It doesn't matter where you come from, what cosmology, what belief system, what construct, it does not matter. So, Jai Shri Ram. Om Aim Kleem Sao Tripura Sundari Namo Namah. And so this mantra is for the great creatrix, goddess Lalita, who sits above all, is the great mother goddess and also the devoted wife of Lord Shiva. I'd like to acknowledge, honor, and pay respects to this point in space and time, Mother Earth, upon which I sit, Father Sky, Grandfather Sun, Grandmother Moon, all the elements, the sacred fire that bears witness to this reading, the wind that carries the story across through the breath, the water that remembers, that holds memories, the ether, the four directions, the upper and lower worlds and the middle worlds, all beings, all kings and kingdoms, all teachers, all gurus, the greatest teacher, the Adi Guru of all, Shiva, all beings, four legged, two legged, all are welcome. We honor and acknowledge all the mountains, the rock beings, keepers of the mountains, keepers of the sacred land, all the tribes and shamans, all the elders, all the grandfathers, the grandmothers, Auntie Dinua, my own parents, my lineage, all people of the sacred circle that have been part of this reading, all forces that may not have light as their intention, that are in the process of evolution, they are welcome too, but with disarmed attendance only. The intention of this field has already been locked in and is under the protection of the great goddess, the mother goddess. I honor and acknowledge all those parts of us that have been exiled, that were not welcome, that were forgotten. Um, I welcome all. I welcome the matrix, the illusion, Maya, and all the players of Maya, all the players of this dance, this epic story in which we are all heroes if we choose to be. So, finally, I wish to honor and acknowledge all gods, goddesses, and all those who serve, all warriors, all tribes, all the elders, all the ones who keep the ancient ways alive. Um, and all those who are here now in some form or another. I welcome you. I welcome you to the Ramayana. So, I'll read a little poem for those joining us now. I don't usually do this, but today is a special day. And it begins something like this. It's from the Sundar Kand, and it begins with Lord Hanuman's poem, The Monkey God. This is about joy, this is about play. He recites from within the branches of the great Asoka tree. Descendant of Isvaku, King Dashrath was his name. Righteous and heroic, he ruled Ayodhya of fame. He received four mighty sons, Rama, the loved of his heart, full of infinite potencies, Vishnu, in a human part. To give Kekai her boons, into exile Rama was sent, upholder of his father's vow, with Sita and Lakshman he went. When Rama killed the Rakshasas, who filled the rishis with fear, Ravana kidnapped Sita with the help of Malika, the deer. Then, in his search for Sita, Ram made Sugriva a friend to search the southern quarter. I, Hanuman, did he send. After crossing many mountains, I jumped the ocean vast. And thus I have succeeded in finding you at last. Rama will come to save you, his dearly beloved wife. Now, give me a little message to save your husband's life. Beautiful. So that gives you a bit of the gist of the story. There are videos available of the past readings and recordings, so you can DM me if you'd like these sent to you. Okay, So now we're going back and we are continuing with the Bala Khanda. And the last part of the story was around how the Ganges came to be on Lord Shiva's head. So you see the crescent moon and you see the Ganges flowing out. And so this story also covers that and many other stories. There's much more. It's a weaving and a weaving and a weaving. So this explains how that came about. And so I will begin here. Finally, the Ganga reached the site that had been excavated by the sons of Sagara. By entering the great crevasse, the Ganga went down to Rasatala. In doing so, she submerged the ashes of Sagara's 60,000 sons, enabling them to reach their heavenly destination. Lord Brahma appeared once more before Maharaja Bhagirath and declared, O king, your mission has now been accomplished. From this time forward, the Ganga shall be known as your daughter, Bhagirathi. After thus delivering his forefathers, Maharaja Bhagiratha returned to his capital and resumed ruling over his kingdom. Thus, the entire night passed away as Vishwamitra narrated to Rama the fascinating history of the river Ganga and her descent to earth. When morning arrived, Rama expressed his eagerness to cross the Ganga and continue the journey. The caravan was soon made ready to depart. After reaching the faraway bank of the Ganga, the caravan traveled on and eventually came to the city of Visala. When Lord Ram requested Vishwamitra to speak about the dynasty of kings that ruled the city, the rishi narrated the following story. The demigods and demons are by nature inimical towards one another. Once, following the advice of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods executed a truce with the demons for the purpose of churning nectar from the sea. This was done with the understanding that when the nectar was churned, both sides would share it equally. Thus, both the demons and the demigods, desiring to become immortal, started for the ocean of milk, taking with them Mandara mountain and Vasuki. Now, Vasuki is the snake around Shiva's neck, for those who don't know. By the expert arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demons held the snake near the mouth, and the demigods held his tail. Vasuki, with his thousands of eyes and mouths, breathed smoke and blazing fire, which severely wounded the demons. Thus, the demons who appeared like trees burnt by a forest fire gradually became powerless. Because the demigods were also affected by the blazing breath of Vasuki, their bodily luster diminished, and their garments, garlands, and weapons and faces were blackened by smoke. However, By the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, clouds appeared on the sea, pouring torrents of rain, and strong breezes carried particles of water from the sea waves, thus giving relief to the demigods. Because of the mountain's great weight, the demigods and demons became fatigued, and some were dying. Thus, because Mandara mountain was very, very heavy and was not held by any support, it sank into the ocean. In this way, the prowess of both the demons and the demigods was vanquished. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, then appeared on the back of his carrier Garuda. The Lord appeared like a blackish cloud, wearing a garland of flowers. He was dressed with yellow garments and earrings that shone on his ears like lightning. His eyes were pinkish, and his hair was spread over his shoulders. By his mercy, he brought the demigods and demons back to life. The Lord then lifted the mountain with one hand and placed it on the back of Garuda. Then he sat on the mountain, and Garuda carried him to the spot of the churning and placed the mountain in the middle of the sea. The Lord then asked Garuda to leave because, as long as Garuda was present, Vasuki would not come there. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Give me 1 second. We'll just keep the fire going. I may not be able to see your messages. I won't be checking them during the readings, but I do acknowledge everyone is present. I hope you can hear me okay. I will speak up a bit loudly. It's okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing in his incarnation as Kurma Vatara, a gigantic tortoise, supported the mountain upon his back, and he lay at the bottom of the ocean. Then Lord Vishnu used his strong, glorious arms, which award fearlessness throughout the universe, and took hold of Vasuki like a rope and began churning the ocean, using Mandara mountain as a churning rod. Engaged in this way, the Lord appeared like the beautifully situated mountain named Indranila. The mountain moved back and forth, scratching the back of the tortoise, who, while partially sleeping, was experiencing an itching sensation. Lord Vishnu then further expanded himself in a gigantic form and supported the top of Mount Mandara with one hand to keep it steady. As the churning resumed with great force, the fish, sharks, tortoises, and snakes became agitated. The entire ocean became turbulent, and even the large aquatic animals like whales, water elephants, crocodiles, and timingila fish, large whales that can swallow small whales, came to the surface. They all came to the surface. Everything was disturbed. While the ocean was being churned away, It first produced a huge amount of a dangerous poison called hala hala. The demigods, seeing no one else to save them, approached Lord Shiva. Aha, he's always there, and offered him prayers. Now, Lord Shiva is part of the Trinity, as we all know. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu the preserver, and Shiva the destroyer. But he's much more than that. So, I will be covering a series on the Lord as well. There is a lot to learn. He is also called Asutosa because he is very pleased if one becomes his devotee. I'm not preaching that you do that, but if you are called to, please do open that door. Therefore, he readily agreed to drink all the poison generated by the churn. The goddess Durga, Lord Shiva's wife, was not at all disturbed when Lord Shiva agreed to drink the poison, for she knew Lord Shiva's prowess. Indeed, she was pleased with this agreement. Now, Shiva had Durga, the fierce form of the goddess. It was actually goddess Lalita who then sort of divided herself into the components that we know in the Vedas as tamas, the energy or the component that comes from, you know, energy of passion, for example. So, one is Durga, one is Kali, which is the more fierce or the destructive form of the Great Mother, where the dominant energy is different. I'm forgetting that name. And then you have the goddess Parvati, pure love, devotion, different aspect, energy. So, you know, um, there's a lot there. But Lord Shiva gathered devastating poison which had spread everywhere. He took it in his hand and drank it, which made his neck become blue. Now, he's also known as Neelkantha, which means the blue-throated one. So, if you are interested, you can go into the 1008 names of the Lord Shiva, or pure consciousness, to put it in context of the modern world and quantum physics. He took it in his hand and drank it. However, a small quantity of the poison spilled from his hands to the ground. It is because of this poison that there are poisonous snakes, scorpions, toxic plants, and other poisonous things in the world. The text says so. Thereafter, in the course of churning the milk ocean, the 600 million apsaras were produced. They're like goddesses. And because neither the demigods or demons accepted them, they became prostitutes. When Varuni, the goddess of liquor, Sura, next emerged from the milk ocean, the demigods would not accept her. It's getting interesting. The demigods did, however, and for this reason, the sons of Aditi became known as Asuras, whereas the sons of Diti became known as Suras. Finally, finally, after many years, Lord Vishnu, in the form of Dhanvantari, the inaugurator of medical science, appeared from the ocean of milk holding a water pot filled with nectar in one hand and a staff in the other. A great fight ensued between the demigods and the demons over the nectar. When both sides neared destruction, the demons took possession of the nectar. Lord Vishnu then assumed the form of Mohini Murti, When this extraordinarily beautiful form of the Lord as a young woman appeared before them, the demons immediately became captivated by her. Beauty is a weapon, can be used in different ways. It's an aspect that the goddess knows well and truly well. I mean, beyond our capacity to even perceive beauty. Because the demons were then fighting amongst themselves to possess the nectar, they selected this beautiful woman to settle the quarrel, taking advantage of their weakness. Mohini, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, enticed the demons to promise that whatever decision she gave, they would agree to. When the demons made this promise, Mohini Murti had the demigods and demons sit in different lines so that she could distribute the nectar. Mohini Murti approached the demons and spoke very graciously to them. The demons thought themselves most fortunate to talk with her, since the demons themselves were seated at a distant place. They thought they would only get a small portion of the nectar. Indeed, they concluded that because Mohini Murti appeared so pleased with them, she would give the demons all the nectar. Enchanted by the exquisite transcendental beauty of the Mohini form, the demons agreed to hand over the nectar to Mohini Devi, who then artfully delivered it to the demigods. Strategy. The demons were so captivated by the tricks and friendly words of Mohini Murti that although the demigods were served first, the demons were pacified merely by her sweet words. The Lord said to the demons, "The demigods are very, very miserly and excessively anxious to take the nectar first. So let them have it first. Since you are not like them, you can wait a little longer, can't you? You are all heroes and are therefore pleased with me. It is better for you to wait until the demigods drink." Mhm. The Lord intended to distribute the nectar only to the demigods. She knew that the demigods were quite unfit to drink the nectar. When the demons saw that Mohini Murti was treating them, however, they remained silent. Nevertheless, one demon named Rahu dressed himself like a demigod and sat down in the line of demigods sitting beside the sun and the moon. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead understood how Rahu was cheating, he immediately cut off the demon's head. Rahu, however, had already tasted the nectar, and therefore, although his head was severed, he remained alive. After the demigods finished drinking the nectar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead assumed his own form and quickly carried off the nectar by an act of deception. Deception happens through the ages. We see it all the time. Not only in stories, we see it every day. Practical application of the story that is repeated again and again. When the demons opposed her, Mohini Murti easily vanquished them and thus enabled Indra, who is known as the king of the gods, or who is the king of the gods, to become the undisputed ruler of the three worlds. Okay, how are we doing on time? 7:45. We're going to go for another 10 minutes and then I will close. Upon seeing the defeat of her sons, Diti became very unhappy and began performing austerities with the aim of obtaining a son capable of killing Indra in revenge. Knowing that Diti was intent upon performing austerities for 1,000 years to attain this destruction, Indra came to her and began rendering the menial service to her with great care and great attention. When only 10 years of her vow remained, Diti became quite pleased with Indra, assured him that she would pacify her son once he was born, so that Indra could continue ruling over the three worlds without fear. Indra, however, remained very wary. It's a funny thing, the voice in your head. It's a funny thing. We, each one of us, is unique. It's like a unique perspective in the sea of cosmic consciousness. Perspective, aperture, hologram opening, and we create. Sometime later, Diti became very tired and carelessly laid down, placing her head where her feet normally would rest. She was off guard. We are all off guard. In this way, she neglectfully allowed her hair to become contaminated. Seizing the advantage of this fault, Indra utilized his mystic power to enter her womb. Indra then cut Diti's embryo into 7 parts. When the fetus cried out in a shrill voice, he again cut out each part into 7, making a total of 49 pieces. That is quite confronting. Diti, however, could not understand what was happening and begged Indra to stop killing her child. Having been discovered, the repentant Indra came out from her womb and begged forgiveness from his stepmother. That Diti requested that her 49 children be allowed to become wind gods. Indra agreed, and thus he and Diti were reconciled, while the 49 children became recognized as demigods, known as the Maruts. Vishwamitra concluded, this city, Visala, is situated at the place where Diti formerly performed her austerities. Later, the son of Ikshvaku, named Visala, built the city, and the present king in this dynasty is Sumati. Everyone with me? Maharaja Sumati then came out of the city to receive and worship Vishwamitra. Lots of names here. At his invitation, the party rested there for the night, and then, the next morning, the caravan again proceeded on its journey towards the kingdom of Videha. Upon reaching the outskirts of Mithila, the capital city of Maharaja Janak, Lord Ram, we're back to Lord Ram, circles back. So an old desolate hermitage. After Rama inquired about it from Vishwamitra, the Rishi explained. This ashram formerly belonged to Gautam Rishi, who practiced austerities along with his wife, Ahalya. Once upon a time, knowing that Gautam was away from his ashram, King Indra assumed a form that closely resembled the Rishi. He went to the ashram in that disguise and approached the Gautama's wife, saying, my dear beautiful one, I desire union with you immediately. Please do not disappoint me. Although Ahalya recognized it was Indra disguised as Gautama, she did not refuse him, for she too eagerly desired his embraces. Thus, The union took place, and after their lusty urges had been gratified, Ahalya begged, "Oh, Indra, protect us from the wrath of my husband Gautama." Indra assured Ahalya that he would depart immediately, unnoticed by anyone. However, while Indra was sneaking away from Gautam's ashram, the rishi suddenly returned. When Gautama saw Indra disguised as himself, his head hanging down in shame, he could well understand the nature of the misconduct. Thus, with great anger, the rishi cursed Indra. "O lusty fool, may your testicles immediately fall off as punishment for this abominable act." No sooner had the curse been pronounced when Indra's testicles fell from his body and dropped to the ground. Then, after entering his ashram, Gautama cursed his wife. "O wretched woman, from now on you shall be incapable of eating or drinking, and you shall have to lie down on a bed of ashes." Thus, Ahalya was turned into a pillar of stone. Gautama then said, "Only when Lord Rama visits this spot in the distant future will you be absolved of your sin, freed from all lusty desires, and reunited with me as your husband." Saying this, Gautama departed for the Himalayas. Meanwhile, Indra informed the demigods, "I have successfully thwarted Gautam Rishu's attempt to attain my position as the king of heaven by making him very angry. However, in this process, let's make a note of this. I have lost my testicles. Now, somehow or the other, please arrange for my manhood to be restored." Responding to Indra's plea, the demigods arranged for the Pitas to castrate a ram and grafted his testicles onto Indra's body. Gets a bit graphic. After narrating the story, Vishwamitra invited Lord Rama to enter the ashram of Gautama. As soon as Rama entered the hermitage, Ahalya regained her original form, dazzling with ascetic splendor. Flame moving. Okay. For those who don't know, this little device is known as a chimta. My grandmother used to use it in the state of Punjab. Um, so yeah, something similar to that. It's used in cooking in the villages. Okay. As soon as Rama entered the hermitage, Ahalya regained her original form, dazzling with ascetic splendor. Indeed, upon Ahalya's liberation, there was a sudden shower of celestial flowers, with drums beating in the heavens. Rama and Lakshman respectfully touched Ahalya's feet, and she reciprocally welcomed the two brothers and Vishwamitra. Gautam Rishi then came to be reunited with his father and worshipped Lord Rama and Lakshmana with great reverence. Jai Shri Ram. Om. So that concludes the reading, and I'm just going to close the space. You can let it just sink in for a minute. Wasn't able to watch the fire that much today. Um, gets interesting, gets quite graphic as well. So I now give thanks and honor, acknowledge, and pay respects to everyone who attended today's reading across space and time, across cosmologies, across consciousness as we know it, as we understand it, and as we don't, across the matrix of programs, belief structures. Give thanks to all parts of the system, all parts, light and darkness, that dance with us, that is part of the story, that bring the richness to the story, the drama to the story, where we are players. I give thanks and ask all forces to leave and go in peace. And may this reading bring you many blessings and open your doors to your stories that would weave with the epic story as it continues to weave. And finally, I give thanks to the element of fire and all the other elements, all our ancestors, all the ancient ones, the ancient ways, and Mother Earth, the great Mother Goddess Lalita, and her beloved Shiva, and of course Lord Rama, and his beloved Sita. And a special prayer for Parag Pule tonight and Priya. So thank you, and Jai Shri Ram. Our next reading will be 2 weeks from now. Same time, same place, if this is a place, same timeline, if you like. Just going to observe a minute silence and just take it all in and integrate. Om Namah Shivaya.